on to another divisional game. Falcons and Bucks. I think you may be on the opposite side of me here yet again. So our 2-week or so run looking at the same side definitely has come to an end. But I'm looking towards the Falcons. I bet the Falcons on Wednesday. And you can find that bet in our Discord channel. Again, the link is over at thelines.com at the top right-hand corner. I played Falcons minus 1.5. It's down from 2.5, which is where it opened at. Maybe some soft threes initially on Sunday, but pretty much 2.5s on Monday. And we're down a full point. The injury report definitely plays to that, with the Falcons being extremely banged up. I know Drew Dahlman, their center, was back at practice on Thursday, but Jeff Okudah, their linebacker, Nate Landman, of course, Okudah being a cornerback, hasn't necessarily performed the greatest, but still one of their starting outside corners. And their other offensive linemen, other than their center, who I mentioned back in practice this week, or on Thursday, but McGarry, and also David Onyemata, who's now their best defensive lineman when it comes to pressuring the quarterback without Grady Jarrett, who's now out for the season, I believe. So all those guys, those 4 players, missing practice on Thursday. And then A.J. Terrell was practicing yet again in a yellow non-contact jersey. He's trying to come back from that concussion. But the fact that he has been practicing in a limited fashion, I think at least he'll have a shot to play in this game. But, when you look at the quarterbacks with Mayfield and Ritter, I know it's easy to say that it's Mayfield makes for the better bet in this game, but Ritter still ranks around league average in success rate, and that kind of correlates to having a positive game script. So if they're able to run the ball, and you also factor in 2 of his worst games of the year over the last couple of weeks, came against the Jets and Saints, and that was also when the Saints had a healthier defense. And then you look at this Bucs defense, which ranks top 7, or allowing the top 7th, allowing a top 7 success rate, also EPA per play since week 8. Red zone defense also should be due for some regression, as they rank number 29 in touchdown percentage allowed inside the 20-yard line. So they haven't allowed many touchdowns, of course, in the red zone. That's what that stat insinuates. But I think the Falcons could be due for some positive regression in that category, as they haven't been great inside the red zone. And on top of that, looking at that stat in particular, the Falcons had 3 red zone turnovers in that last meeting against the Bucs, I believe, in week 7. So potential red zone regression, not only overall for Tampa defensively, but also when you look at that first matchup when the Falcons turned the ball over 3 times in the red zone. And maybe the Bucs and Baker Mayfield get a little bit of red zone turnover luck, positive variance on their own end, especially if Terrell and Okudah, neither of the Falcons starting cornerbacks, suit up. But I think this offense has been a little bit overrated when it comes to their power rating, just how you look at Tampa Bay overall, because as I mentioned with Philly before the 49ers game last week, they got a lot of breaks when it came to recovering their own fumbles, and Tampa Bay is, in the same respect, has gotten their fair share of positive variance, recovering just over 58% of their own fumbles, which is tied for the 9th highest clip in the NFL with the Cardinals. So I like Atlanta's offense to bounce back after a subpar performance against the Jets, and that Jets run defense is one of the better run defenses in the NFL. So if you can maintain that positive game script, like I mentioned for the get-go for Ritter, I don't know if that turnover rate necessarily comes to fruition unless the Falcons get unlucky with fumbles. But what say you here for Falcons Bucs, Mel?
Well, I really hope, I shouldn't say this because I don't want to anti-sweat you, but I really hope that for my season bet, the Bucs do manage to pull off the W here, because I did bet the Saints a few weeks back. As far as this matchup goes, yeah, like you said, much higher opener, maybe as high as 3 in some spots. Market definitely in on the Bucs so far. It's been dropping all week. You've got some critical injuries on both sides. You mentioned several of them. I think maybe the biggest one could be Vita Vea. He missed practice on Wednesday, and just absolutely a monster in the middle, helps, especially when you're facing a team like the Falcons that really wants to come in, hammer the ball up the middle, and you know, they're going to need their run defense to be on point, obviously. So this to me is just kind of two evenly matched teams in what is definitely the biggest game of the season to date for both sides. Maybe you could say Saints Falcons, but yeah, the Bucs season is pretty much over if they lose this game. So this is obviously a massive one for them. Would have been interested in the Bucs around 3. Now I think just staying away. As far as the matchup goes, you do have Desmond Ridder playing against a very blitz heavy team in this spot. You know the Bucs with Todd Bowles are going to bring a lot of blitzes. His PFF grading has been better when he's been blitzed, which I think is interesting because he does kind of, I think, tend to turtle up in some spots when he's under pressure, but maybe that just means his offensive line is doing a great job picking up these blitzes. I mean, they do have one of the better pass blocking grades, so that matchup could be one to watch, especially when you have a guy like Devin White, who also is banged up and missing practice, who knows if he's going to play. You know, because of his speed, he can be an effective blitzer at times. So, yeah, just going to hope for the best for my future here and just thinking probably this is a pretty fair market, although a lot of the stuff you're saying is making me wonder if, honestly, over 41 could be a play here. Just you have indoor and a Bucs team that has moved the ball well in a lot of spots through the air, but you want to talk about regression. I mean, these guys can't catch the ball. So if anybody ever catches the ball for Baker, I mean, maybe they're moving the rock here. And we have seen the Falcons. I mean, this same matchup, they were moving the ball pretty much at will last time these two teams played. It wasn't a good game from the Tampa Bay defense. I think the Falcons were definitely the better team in that game. That was a well-deserved W for them. So, yeah, maybe we do see some points in this matchup, more so than the line would indicate.
Yeah, the total's been bet up from around 39.5 too. So you're not necessarily getting the best of the number, but both defenses, especially when it comes to their red zone defense, due for some negative variance. I hope it's more so for Atlanta's sake, but over would seem like a play if you're okay with not getting around what it opened at, which I think was around 39.5. But we'll see how their injury reports shake out as well over the rest of the week. That would be big if Vita Vea does miss this matchup because this Bucs defensive front is very vulnerable, and I think that would also insinuate that the Falcons' run game does bounce back, like I think comes to fruition after what they did against the Jets, really struggling, and even going back to that first matchup against the Bucs, really struggling on the ground when that Bucs defensive front was healthier.